Meet Me at the Movies. I am Noel T. Manning the second.
We've already screwed up the show. You realize
Yes.
that. We were talking about that as the titles were rolling at the beginning. We've already messed up the show.
That over there. Who is that? That is Buckaroo Banzai.
No one knows and no one cares.
Buckaroo Banzai. Buckaroo Banzai.
Across the Fifth Dimension?
Yeah.
1984?
I just like that name. I wanted to name my first child Buckaroo Banzai. But
Thomas would love that, wouldn't he?
But well, my first child was a daughter, and my wife would not allow that. And then when my second child came, I'm like, okay, I get to name this child Buckaroo Banzai. And my wife said, no, you don't. Because I had the kid, and you don't get a chance to name the kid Buckaroo Banzai. So,
well, you were involved. Well, never mind.
So anyway, if I ever adopt a kid, I'm going to change the kid's name to Buckaroo Banzai. That is Greg Tillman over there. Beside me to my right, that is Mr. Christian Jessup. Christian
Howdy.
is the Critics' Choice Scholar. Welcome back. Good to see you.
Thank you. It's good to be back. Catherine, you are now Buckaroo from now on.
Yeah, back behind the camera, that is Tim Foster, the Tim Cam, and Catherine Manning. Catherine's going to join us shortly. What's in that big mug that you got there, Tim? What's in that you're drinking? What is that?
We're starting to celebrate the end of the semester.
Oh, it's Cinco de Mayo early. All right. Well, congratulations to you. Welcome.
They burned a hole in the console earlier when he spilled a little bit of it.
And also back behind Catherine, you see the standards and practices protocol going on. And
Yeah, they've heard about us.
They heard about us.
Yeah.
They are the censors. They're checking things out to make sure that we do not mess up any more than we normally
Which,
do.
as Greg joked, we have no standards or
Yeah,
practices.
I'm not joking about that. We have no standards or practices.
Exactly. Well,
And that's self-evident, I think.
doing well this week?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, it's all right.
Well, you've got a lot of
It's
talk
been
about.
raining too much, and it's been too gloomy.
Yeah.
And you know me, my cheerful disposition just demands sunshine.
Well, we do talk movies.
I,
and,
I know we've got a lot to talk about. I want to hear about this Noel T special or something.
Okay.
We're talking about food and the proliferation, explosion of restaurants in Bowling Springs.
Right.
We're talking about the old stand by Snack Shop.
The snack shop is across the street.
Yeah.
There's the Quick Snack.
Yeah, I
which
get
is
the
just
two
down.
mixed up name-wise. But you have your own special.
Yeah, the snack shop.
First of all, how does this happen?
Well, years ago, I weighed like 512 pounds, and so I decided it was time to make a
A
change.
lot of that was ponytail, though.
And it was a ponytail.
Yeah.
And I decided to make a change, and so I started being a little more active with my life, and started changing my diet. And so my standard, believe it or not, I lost 60 pounds doing this every single day. For
60
lunch.
pounds, really?
Yeah, 60 pounds. So for lunch, I would eat a pancake, 2 hard scrambled eggs, and sausage.
Pancakes.
What's the diet in that? I love it, though.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh no, but it worked.
You just ate every other day? That's all you had? One meal every other day?
I ate that every Monday through Friday for like a year, and I ended up losing 60
Who
pounds.
eats
Now-
pancakes every day and lose weight?
Now,
That's what I'm saying.
Now, of course, I did exercise too. I mean, I either walked or ran 30 minutes to an hour every day, but that was, and I kept track of what I ate, but that's the Noel T
How
special.
much syrup do you use? Because
Wow.
I feel like I use enough syrup that it would just like
Now,
completely
here's the
eliminate
thing with syrup, okay? You don't pour it all over your pancake. You don't do that because that soaks it up like a sponge. You have it in a little bowl, you dip it.
Pancakes au jus.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So if you dip it,
Interesting.
it works. So there you go. That's the Noel T special. And
I don't,
Not the Noel special, the Noel
no,
T
it's
special.
the Noel T.
you know,
okay.
I've been doing TV for a long time.
Yeah.
Nothing's named after me. Not even my son, partly, but
So yeah, if you go to that restaurant, the snack shop, and you ask for the Noel T special, they will give you pancakes, 2 hard scrambled eggs, and sausage.
I'm going to do that.
Catherine,
just to see
am
what
I right?
get.
Catherine?
trip.
Yeah, maybe it's
Yes.
gonna be
See,
bologna
see,
or
Catherine says
turkey
I'm
or
not
something.
lying.
on the phone so we can
Tim,
see it.
you're going to go? Tim Foster's going. He's going to check it out. Go with me. Okay. All right. We'll do it after the show. Very cool. Well, a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about today. Big movie opening in theaters, already open in theaters, called Avengers Infinity War. It's not.
Never heard of
It's
it.
not a Avengers Infinity War. It's not the Avengers Infinity Wars.
Or Avengers the Infinity War.
No. It's just, what's it called?
Avengers Infinity War.
Avengers Infinity War.
Yes.
Not wars, but
Not
war.
wars, yes.
Okay. And it's not part one.
Are we talking about the one movie or multiple?
One movie.
I'm confused now.
Well, it is.
Avengers
Well,
Infinity War.
yeah. Now, it was going to be Infinity War Part 1.
Part 1.
but they decided not to do that, even though it is a part one.
Yeah, and I was reading an interview that they literally changed nothing about the movie layout. It's set up exactly the same way, the scripts, the story, nothing changed, but they felt that from a studio and marketing perspective, it was a bad move to label it part one and
Right.
part two. So now it's just Infinity War, and who knows what they'll call the next one.
It didn't hurt Harry Potter.
No,
in
it
those
didn't.
last
It actually didn't, and it
films.
wouldn't have hurt this one either.
No.
I think, but it does give you a chance to have some other marketing instead of having a part one and a part two. But anyway, the movie itself, just to give you, before we came in, I did a little bit of research leading up to this this review. 2008, May of 2008, so 10 years ago was the launch of the MC universe, so the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Iron Man. That launched this all. They had hopes that there was going to be this incredible success and you'd have this run of films, but they didn't know. You never know until it happens. But
Right.
the movie was made for $145 million, ended up worldwide take $545 million and some change. And so, yeah, I was like, okay, we're going to do more of these. And what I've loved about these, within 10 years, we've had 19 films
Wow.
that are part of this universe that are all connected in one way or another. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's absolutely incredible in 10 years to have had that. And it really does make you feel like, you know, in this age of television where you've got some really good TV, it feels like episodic TV in some ways to me.
Yeah, it does. And you know, you said 19 films?
19 films so far.
I
counting this
can't, I can't think of any that have tanked. Have there
No,
been any?
no.
They've
No,
all been
successful.
and even critically successful,
Yep.
I think, for the most part.
Yeah, so 19 films, 5 more that are scheduled in the next 3 years, including one more this year, this summer, with Ant-Man and the Wasp. And that's the only film, you haven't seen Ant-Man.
I've
is
not
the
seen
only
Ant-Man,
one in
so
this that you have not seen.
I'm on
I
18
thoroughly
out of
enjoyed
19.
Ant-Man.
Yeah,
I like
I
Paul
loved it.
Rudd a lot anyway, and he's perfect in that, and it was a fun movie.
Yeah, Ant-Man was my favorite comedy of that year when it was released. But money take out of these 18 films so far, earned total $15 billion.
15 billion?
Billion.
I
15
would have thought
billion.
more, frankly.
Yeah. Well,
with
and
19
that may
films.
be the net.
Yeah.
That may be the net,
Yeah,
but
maybe,
still,
yeah.
that's how much they've earned.
Yeah.
The box
You know,
office. So-
DC could learn a thing or two.
Yeah,
from
they
Marvel.
could, and we've spent some time talking
Yeah.
about this, but this movie, let me say, if you haven't seen some of these other films, don't go into this one. You've got to have some background knowledge, and before the show ends today, we're going to talk about 7 films that you must or should see before watching Infinity War. Dive into your thoughts, give us a little background on the story, and then we'll share how we feel about this movie.
So yeah, Infinity War is kind of the long haul that Marvel's been pushing towards, and it's about the Avengers uniting to battle their most powerful enemy yet, who is Thanos. We saw him first introduced in 2012 as a post-credit scene, and they've slowly kind of been building up to him. So we finally get him as this big villain, and he plans to collect all 6 of these objects called Infinity Stones that we've slowly seen throughout the movies, and use them to put it on this gauntlet that he wears, and it allows him to harness the power of the universe, basically. And so everything's really uncertain, and the Avengers, you know, continue to fight for this, and really everything they fought for up until this moment has been leading up to this.
Yeah.
And that's what's really cool, is keeping up with that episodic description that you mentioned. Is this very much feels like a series finale in a giant TV show, because everything's been leading up to this.
Yeah, it almost felt like this was almost kind of that mid-season finale because we got one more film that will wrap up this particular storyline, but it has all connected, and the threads throughout these 18 films that have had to work. I mean, talk about continuity, talk about, you know, script supervision to find ways to have those things connected throughout and to make sense. I mean, that's the long haul. I mean, for 10 years, that's been the long haul for this.
Yeah, and yeah, continuity. And the more I thought about this after we watched the premiere last night, I'm just thoroughly impressed by the writing in this script, because whether or not you feel like it's overcrowded, each time any character gets a line of dialogue, any special part in the film, it truly feels like it's that character's identity. Every time Thor appears, it feels like he's just stepped straight out of Thor Ragnarok.
Yep.
Every time Doctor Strange appears, it feels like he's out of his movie. Guardians, the same way. And I'm thoroughly impressed that scriptwriters could take characters from 18 prior films
Right.
and make it feel like they're authentically living in this one film.
Yeah,
And-
it felt fluid. I do think there were just a few times with this many superheroes, it was overcrowded just a few
Yeah.
times. but they did a nice job not trying to show all of them get screen time at the same time.
I would think it'd be really easy to overstuff a film like
You know,
this.
and I have watched some superhero films where I felt that was the case. I think back to Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
I felt it was kind of overkill and they tried to do too much. Even felt in Justice League there were some issues with that. This, I didn't feel it was overcrowded. I mean, there were times that, yeah, they're trying to do a lot. Very ambitious. I think that was my son's approach. Thomas said this is probably the most ambitious film he's ever seen.
I agree.
And with all they were trying to do, yeah, I'm right there with him on that.
Yeah, and I think that one of the keys to success is you always get these pocket stories where you have pockets of heroes. And you certainly do get those big payoff shots where you have all these characters fighting on screen, but it's much more focused on these pockets of little team-ups from within the Avengers and how 2 or 3 or 4 characters interact with each other versus how 20 all interact at the same
Yeah,
time.
and that's what worked. That's what really worked because you had these different scenes of things happening with, as you said, pockets with just a handful of them working out a solution here,
More
working
intimate
out a solution
scenes.
here.
More intimate scenes.
Yeah, yeah, and that really made this connect. for
Yeah,
me.
and I think it's one of Marvel's more emotional films. I laughed a ton. There were some really emotional, sad parts, some really jaw-dropping moments, and I finally felt like we had a Marvel film with real stakes on the line.
Yeah, yeah. Nobody was safe.
Yeah.
Nobody was safe.
Someone
whatsoever.
died?
Yeah, there are some deaths
There are
in this
deaths
film.
in
yeah.
there, and
Among
pretty
some of
shocking
the
ones at that, I would
primary
say.
characters?
Don't want.
Yeah, all right.
Well, yeah.
I don't want to give
All
anything
right,
away,
You know, but yeah, there's some main
characters that you would
characters.
not expect to see go get some pretty interesting endings.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just finally nice to see, and I hope they don't go back on that in the next one because, you know, one of my biggest criticisms of Marvel, their universe as a whole, has just always been that it always felt too safe. You know, a character dies at the end of one film, like, okay, well, you know, at the
bring him
beginning of
back.
the next one, yeah, bring him back. Even Star Trek, you know,
Yeah.
Spock comes back after
Now,
he
wait a
died
minute.
in
Let's
the
not
second one.
badmouth Star Trek Wrath of Khan.
No, but you know, I mean, what you're saying is
Yeah.
you don't feel like,
Yeah.
okay, you kill
How
somebody
many
off. we're gonna
superheroes have
bring
we
him back.
lost in the last 18 Marvel movies? You know,
Yeah.
That-
Yeah.
I can't think of any off the top of my
Yeah.
head, and so
Yeah.
it was nice just to finally feel like, even if characters weren't dying, to feel like, well, gosh, I never know if they will or not.
Right.
It finally felt real.
Yeah, and you've also got this movie. We've talked about this. The movie is less about the Avengers and it's more about the story of Thanos. It's his story, and even as this one wraps up, it does wrap up on a cliffhanger to an extent. I mean, it actually fulfills the story up to this point, but it does leave you, with okay, what's next? And as the credits roll, it says Thanos will return. I mean, that's how the movie ends. I'm not giving a lot away there.
No.
I mean, because this is part one, and we all know this is part one of the greater epic.
But yeah, if you do view it as Thanos' story, it kind of does come to a nice wrap at the end of this film, and it certainly won't feel like that for us since we're rooting
Yeah.
for the heroes, but
Right.
since they focus so much time on making him the main character, his story arc really feels like it comes to a nice point at the end of the
And you
film.
really get to understand his motivation. And while you may not agree with it, you can understand it. And I think that's an interesting thing. And that's a tough thing to do sometimes
Yeah.
with villains. I did have, there was one particular scene that I didn't buy something that was going on with him, but I kind of put that aside. Overall, I think this is a solid film. The effects, of course, solid. It's one of these films you need to see on the big screen. But you do need to see a few other films first if this is your first approach to going to the Avengers. The music, this guy's been busy with doing
Yeah,
the music.
Alan
for this.
Silvestri, he just finished
Really?
up Ready Player One, and now he's back for Infinity War. It was some really nice old school scoring, and he used his themes from the Avengers, even got a nice nod to the Black Panther theme in
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But some really old school, like even before John Williams' time, very like old-timey filmmaking
Yeah,
score, and I
yeah,
really enjoyed
yeah.
getting to hear that.
A lot of action, a lot of story, a lot of characters. The movie was shot partially in Georgia and in New Zealand. Some beautiful landscapes in this, and it's just an epic film.
Yeah,
Other thoughts?
that's about it for me. I gave it
Okay.
a B+.
Okay. I gave it an actually incomplete.
What?
I gave it an incomplete because this is truly part one, but I got called on it by one of my former students who said, you got to give some grade because it is a movie.
Yeah, fair
So
enough.
I'm giving it a B. I'm reserving the rights to either move that up or down depending on what happens in the next film that finishes this.
Well, you know,
Do
if
they
a
shoot
student
them
takes
back
your
to back?
class, if a student takes your class and stops halfway through, then he gets an incomplete
That's
on his
exactly
report card.
right.
So, like, I mean, I think it's fair that you're able to give that.
Yeah.
Did they shoot them back to back?
Yeah, I think they did on this one.
I think
So the
Yeah.
other one's going to be coming sooner than maybe
Well, it's a
normally
year
would?
away.
Yeah, May
It's a year
3rd
away.
or
Next
4th.
year.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
still got to wait a year.
Yeah.
All right.
So there you go. That's our take on Avengers: Infinity War. Before the break, I do want to just let you share two other MCU films that you must see or should see before watching Infinity War.
Yeah, so I'll give two short little snippets. And really, my list was kind of affected after we saw Infinity War based on what characters and storylines we're focused on. So first, I mentioned Doctor Strange, 2016 film directed by Scott Derrickson and starring Benedict Cumberbatch. So basically, it follows the story of this doctor, Doctor Strange, and after he's in an accident, he loses the use of his hands, and that's really where he's found his identity. And so the film's about him finding his identity through this mysterious enclave that he comes across and kind of learning how to rebuild his life, and obviously do so in a superheroic way, in a magical way.
And there's a particular stone, we talked about the Infinity Stones, the Time
The
Stone.
Time Stone, and that's an important part both of Infinity War, but it's first discovered and talked about and used in Doctor Strange. This film, I said, it has a lot of inspiration from other reality-bending films. A lot of shots will very specifically remind you of Inception. If you've
Absolutely.
seen that film,
Yeah.
you know, scenes with the city coming and like going upside down and stuff. Some very trippy shots. It didn't necessarily bother me, but I didn't love because I felt like I'd seen it before.
Yep, yep.
But still very impressive effects. I said personality-wise, he's close to a Tony Stark type of character. He has an ego, but
Yep.
then after he goes through tragedy, he kind of confronts that and starts to use his power for the betterment of humanity. Fun musical score, and I gave it a B overall.
Yeah, yeah, and there's in Infinity War, there's a really fun play on his name, Doctor Strange, that Spider-Man has a little fun scene with. All right, the next movie that should be watched before Infinity War.
Thor Ragnarok, 2017, not been out too long, but honestly, it's already one of my favorites in the MCU because they really treated it like a comedy. Taika Waititi is the director of the film and starring Chris
that nice?
Hemsworth. Yeah, that's quite a name.
Allergy season.
Yeah, bless you. So after Hela imprisons Thor on this unknown planet, he finds himself just kind of trapped there and trying to kind of fight for survival, and he encounters a few fun other heroes on the way. I won't
Yep.
spoil it in case you haven't
Yep.
seen it yet. But really a fun team up with Thor creating his own team, the Avengers.
Yes.
And trying to get back to keep his homeworld from being
Right.
destroyed. So this is just a completely different iteration of Thor than we had seen up until this point. So much funnier, so much more self-aware, and it was just great to see because, you know, when you've got a character as powerful as this one, if he's taking things so seriously, it kind of like almost becomes a laughing point anyway. So the fact that they went ahead and made this comedic, and Chris Hemsworth just has great comic timing.
he does.
The line
He does.
delivery, like,
Yeah.
he's become one of my favorite actors, especially for that comedy delivery.
He was one of the highlights in Ghostbusters. I
Yeah.
thought,
Oh
a
yeah,
couple
yeah.
years ago.
And this movie also, this movie ends right where Infinity War begins.
Exactly, which
So
is why
that's-
it's an important
yeah.
view if you're wanting to catch up and watch Infinity
Yep.
War. The villain was weak, which up until the last few years has been a pretty common trend in Marvel movies, but it's such a fun time that
Yep.
you kind of forgive that
Yep.
element because you laugh from start to finish.
Absolutely. What rating did you give that?
I gave it an A.
Okay, A
Loved
for
it.
Thor Ragnarok. I gave it a really good rating as well. Thor Ragnarok. We're going to take a break right here on Meet Me in the Movies. We'll be back with Catherine reviewing a movie that makes her feel pretty, and also she will give us her take 5 Marvel Cinematic Universe films you should see before you watch Avengers: Infinity War. Take a quick break.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Spins a web in his eyes, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Yes, he's strong, this is Bud. He's got radioactive blood. Can swing from a thread, take a look over.
Chef Paul Prudhomme once said, "You don't need a silver fork to eat good food." Well, on Cleveland County Kitchen, we don't have a silver fork, but we sure do serve up lots of good food. Hi, I'm Deborah Blanton. I hope you'll join me for the next Cleveland County Kitchen. Each month, we offer a complete farm-to-table experience. We visit local growers, we learn about nutrition, and wrap things up with wonderful meals prepared by our guest chefs. It's a lot of fun. I hope you'll join me for the next Cleveland County Kitchen.
Only 2 years until graduation. Then what? The Advanced Manufacturing Academy is a partnership between Cleveland County Schools and Cleveland Community College. It offers you, rising 11th graders, the chance to learn job skills, earn valuable credentials, and complete your high school studies all at the same time. By completing the Advanced Manufacturing Academy, you'll graduate high school ready to start work at way above minimum wage. Check out the Academy and give yourself a head start on a great future.
They're gonna put me in the movies. They're gonna make a big star out of me.
Welcome back to Meet Me in the Movies. I am Noel T. Manning II. Over there beside me, right there, that's Catherine Manning. Catherine, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Awesome. Welcome. Glad you're here.
Good to be
Glad
here.
you're here. You survived Tim back there. You survived the mission control. Yeah, looks like the standards and practices stuff going. Oh, phone, she's on the phone.
She's
Phone
on the
call.
phone. She's reporting us.
We're in
right
trouble.
now.
We are in trouble. Christian's hanging out there with Tim. We will make sure that we follow procedures, practices, and standards.
Yeah,
over there,
right.
Yeah, that over there is Buck Rogers. That's Buck. Welcome, man. Good to see you.
Buck Rogers.
Yeah, you got Buckaroo Banzai. You got Buck Rogers.
What about Buck Owens?
Buck Owens. Ooh. And he's saying.
All I have to do is act
Me-
naturally.
That's
Which is
right.
not easy for
That's
me to do.
right. He sang that song. He sang that song. Welcome. This is Meet Me at the Movies. You can email us, info@c19.tv. Coming to you from Cleveland Community College right here every single week. And we thank WGWG.org for producing the podcast, which actually Greg produces the podcast, and he just sends us a link, and then we just load it. So thank you, man. We appreciate
Yeah,
you.
well, you know.
There
I
you
got
go.
to do something with mine.
Well,
sometime.
movies. Another new movie that opened last weekend did not make quite as much as some of the others out there, but a comedy with Amy Schumer. You like Amy Schumer?
I do.
So-
I know a lot of people don't, but I've always
Well,
liked
let's
her.
get your thoughts on this movie called I Feel Pretty.
Yes.
I feel pretty.
Feel pretty.
I feel pretty.
Well, it stars Amy Schumer, and it's actually one of her more appropriate comedies, I would say.
Okay.
She's known for making comedies with a lot of language, a lot of crude content, but this was actually, very appropriate for an age, 13 and over audience.
Okay.
I felt.
Wow, I'm surprised.
So Amy stars as Renee, who is a woman struggling with just self-confidence, and she gets into a soul cycle accident.
A soul cycle
yes.
accident. Yeah.
What?
A
A
soul
soul
cycle.
cycle accident.
You know
Soul
that.
Cycle?
Soul cycle.
It's like an exercise class where they're all
Oh, no wonder I don't know what you're
biking,
talking about.
and she falls off her bike, hits her head very hard, and she wakes up, looks completely the same, but she sees herself as a supermodel.
Okay.
And she is like, oh my gosh, that's me? And like goes through the streets screaming, yelling, getting excited. She exudes this confidence now, gets her dream job with Avery LeClaire, who is played by Michelle Williams.
Okay.
I've always loved Michelle
Yeah, I like
Williams.
Michelle Williams too. Great actress.
And in this, she plays a comedic role, which we don't always see. She has a great squeaky voice, a whole different persona. So it's a comedy, and it's about kind of the importance of having self-confidence, but also staying true to who you are within
Okay.
that.
So good message.
It is, yeah, it does.
Okay.
It has a really good message, and it has some really great funny parts to it.
Okay.
Another standout is Rory Scovel, who plays her boyfriend, Ethan. And then it also co-stars A.D. Bryant and Busy Phillips, who are just very
and,
fun.
I like Busy Phillips.
Good dynamic.
Yeah.
So I gave it a C+.
Okay.
It wasn't, Academy Award winning or
Yeah.
anything, but it was a good
It's
movie.
a fun movie. Fun
Fun
comedy.
movie, yeah.
Okay, and more appropriate than other Amy Schumer films in the past.
Yes, definitely.
All right, very good.
Definitely.
Thank you. Well, Catherine, that's C+ for the movie. I Feel Pretty. Just feel pretty. Good movie. Good movie. C+. There you go. Well, let's go to Take 5. Take 5. We're going to wrap up with other essential Marvel films you should see. These are MCU films before you watch Marvel's Avengers: Infinity War. Catherine, you got a chance to do some research and spend some time talking to a Marvel fan to get these 5 films.
Yes, shout out to Thomas Manning for this list. I appreciate it. So he wanted me to make sure to say that this is in chronological order.
Okay, perfect.
So watch this in chronological order. First off is Captain America, the First Avenger. It is the Captain America origin story. And Captain America is basically the leader of the Avengers. He's kind of the glue that holds them together. So, you know, it also introduces, this film also introduces one of the Infinity Stones that will play a big role in the Infinity War.
All right.
Next up is the Avengers. And this actually shows the first interaction between the Avengers team. And the storyline is actually referenced in the newest movie, so this film storyline. And Thomas wanted me to make sure to say, important to stay through the credits.
Yeah, for all these movies, stay through the credits. That's a big thing
That's
for all
a
these
given
movies.
with Marvel.
It is. It really is, yeah.
Next up is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, which is actually one of my favorites in this MCU. So this is a group of superheroes, and they're from a different galaxy, a different planet, outer space, and so all of this is kind of a different setting from what we're used to seeing.
A lot of fun. It's a fun movie. And they're fun characters too. The casting was perfect on this, and the storylines I really like. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Also, great music.
Yeah, great music too. Absolutely. And Greg plays a lot of that music with his band. What's your band called?
You don't know?
Yesterday.
Yeah. Well,
Yesterday.
yeah.
Music of Yesterday.
Yeah. Well.
So anyway, good.
Thanks
music.
for the plug, Noel.
There you go. No worries. That's why I'm here, man. That's why I'm here.
Or you can learn more about us at yesterdayband.com.
There you go.
And we're on Facebook.
All right.
And Instagram. And Twitter.
All right, number 4 for Take 5.
So Avengers Age of Ultron. This was actually one of the first MCU movies I saw, so it was kind of out of order.
Right.
But this introduces yet another Infinity Stone, as well as 2 more major characters.
Yeah.
And this is the team's second big interaction together, and it kind of sets up the storyline for the Infinity War.
Yeah, and also it's a movie. I was talking to Christian about it. If you look at it, it's really the Frankenstein storyline in many ways. How you know the creator and the creation kind of have battle with each other. So pretty interesting there.
Yes, and the last one is Captain America Civil War, and so this film actually shows kind of the discord between the Avengers, and they actually split up and battle each other, so that's why it's the Civil War. And
that plays a big role too with this particular film too.
That's what Thomas was saying. It makes it kind of all the more important knowing that they have to come together for this big, huge war, an Infinity War. And it introduces a few more significant characters to the Infinity War storyline.
Great, awesome. Catherine and Christian both great job on that. Once again, I'll just recap those. Chronological order, get your notepad. Captain America, First Avenger from 2011, The Avengers from 2012, Guardians of the Galaxy from 2014, Avengers Age of Ultron 2015, Doctor Strange from 2016, Captain America Civil War from 2016, and Thor Ragnarok from 2017. Wow, it's a heck of a lot of movies, but those films, if you watch those, you will definitely be prepared for Infinity War. Any other thoughts or comments before we wrap things up, Mr. Tillman? No. Thanks for joining us right here on C19 TV's Meet Me at the Movies. Till next time, I'm Noel T. Manning II. That is a wrap.
Happy